What's going on, guys? So, we're back at it again. We're going to be finally talking about the new movie Frankenstein that came out on Netflix, starring Oscar Isaac, many other actors. But overall, a lot of people probably, when seeing this movie, probably was like, okay, what kind of movie is this going to be? Now, during the duration of this film, it's over 2.5 hours long. It's a good long film. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I want to say they used possibly some type of inspiration from Bram Stoker's Dracula, very profusely, because a lot of times when I'm watching this, I felt like that they were going for that old school Bram Stoker's Dracula vibe because of the way that they did this. Because in the beginning, you have these sailors that are stuck apparently in the North Pole area or in Alaska, where they come across Victor Frankenstein, who is very much injured, and he starts explaining when they're attacked by the creature, aka Frankenstein, when they are attacked and they're wondering exactly what's attacking them. He finally comes to consciousness and he tells them, hey, when he comes, just give myself to him. And he starts telling the captain his story. Now it goes into a very long uh, story of how when he was a boy, his father was a very dignified surgeon, but his father did not care for him or his mother. His mother was pregnant with his brother, and his mother and him had a very unique relationship. I believe Victor Frankenstein was probably a mix between English and French, if I'm not mistaken, is the way. I could be wrong, but at the same time, I think that was the case. Now, again, during the movie, his mother dies in childbirth. He gives birth to his little brother. He gets more of a arrangement of he's pretty much his father's trying to make him into the replica of him. And when his father does pass away, him and his brother go to separate ways, and he becomes absolutely obsessed with death. And then he meets someone by the name of Herr Harper, who is willing to give him all the money for his research because, again, nobody in that time period was interested in what he had to say or do. They thought he was crazy. They thought he was mad. And when he finally starts getting the money and the provisions to do all this, he meets the niece of the one not only is who's given him the money, but also is engaged to his younger brother, and his brother is very much into finance and also architecture. So when he starts gets the castle, and he starts building it, he starts gathering the parts. He starts trying to figure out a way to bring life into this world because, again, he's been obsessed with it for so many years. And at the same time, he's developing a relationship with Elizabeth, which again goes back and forth, which is really crazy because she, as you can see, she really does not have a relationship with Victor's younger brother. It's pretty much just an arranged marriage at this rate. She's drawn to Victor. There's times when it seems like she wants to be with Victor, but she retracts herself every time you turn around. So again, in a way, there was a attraction to them, but also it seemed like she was leading him on in a way, but also he did not tell her everything. Then he finally figures out how to bring life in, and then he figures out from listening to the one that's been getting him money, he's dying from syphilis, and he wants Victor to put his brain into this body of, again, Frankenstein, but it does not go the way he wants because in an accident he dies. Victor covers it up, saying that the monster killed him because he's able to bring Frankenstein to life. He tries to teach him, but again, from the outsider looking in, it's basically a baby being, born in this world where he does not know anything. He is very timid. He's scared. He's shy, and Victor is very impatient. He wants to, have him talk with, sentences. He wants to be able to show him off, but then when his brother and Elizabeth show up, he has to cover up everything, and Elizabeth meets the creature, and she takes a fascination in him, and he kind of like looks at her very like, okay, she's the first one to be nice to me. But then Victor comes up with a plan to eradicate Frankenstein, but it does not work because when he starts shouting for him, he tries to stop the fire and the explosion, but instead hurts himself in the process by losing his leg. And then when that happens, we see in the current time, Frankenstein shows up, and the captain's like, "Okay, yeah, go ahead, beast. Like show what your maker's been saying." So he gives his half of the story. So you have the first half for Victor Frankenstein, and then you get the second half for Frankenstein himself, because he goes through, he escaped the explosion, he was hunted, he comes across his family, he tries to be a guardian for him, he starts learning because the grandfather is a very sweet elderly man, very wise, and he starts learning how to speak a little bit more, also learn a little bit more about the world. But then when the man is left alone and his family has to go and fight off these wolves, he introduces himself to this man, and they become friends, and he starts teaching him how to read, how to speak, and he knows he's different. He knows that he is maybe in war or something, but again, the man's blind, so he doesn't fully understand. And then when Frankenstein starts telling him about that he has visions and a name, he tells him to go forth. But when he does, he comes back and he realizes what's happened, that this man was attacked by wolves. He defends him, but this was the only friend he really ever had, and he dies in his arms. And it's a very sad, profuse moment, because this is the only second act of kindness that he had in his whole life, and he was hunted off and on. And so after that, he goes after Victor, and even Victor tries to explain to Elizabeth about anything, and when Frankenstein shows up, having, the whole thing, if he doesn't want to be alone, he wants a companion. Victor fights him on this. It causes a massive fight. Everyone shows up. Elizabeth shows up, and she knows it's him, the creature, and it seems like she's trying to protect him. She's accidentally shot. Then everyone comes in. His brother gets killed in an accident, and she begs Frankenstein to take her somewhere, and she pretty much is almost like saying that she always felt drawn to him somehow because of the way she felt, which was very Dracula-esque, because it was like, again, you've only had maybe one conversation with this person that was created, so it was really kind of interesting to see that. And she dies. You see Victor's youngest brother dies, and then it goes into the whole thing of him hunting him for however many months. And then Victor and Frankenstein have a moment where Victor realizes that he was the problem. And he was the problem. He was deranged. He was, the downfall to everything he had. I mean, because once his mother died, he was so obsessed with trying to revive the dead. And that is what really brought him into this life. And I finally not acknowledge Victor as his son. He passes away, and now Victor is gone, and now Frankenstein was able to help these sailors get back into the sea so they could go home. And the movie ends with him looking at the sunset, because what Victor told him was, again, the sun makes you warm. So overall, I would say it was a good movie. But at the same time, there's two parts. You got Victor Frankenstein's half of the story, then you got Frankenstein's half of the story, and then you got this woman where all these men are fawning over her, but at the same time, it's like she's going to something that you don't expect, but at the same time, she keeps going back and forth of attraction to Victor, but then, rejects it, and then she goes back, and then she rejects it again. So again, I'm not sure exactly what they were trying to do, other than possibly them saying, that she had feelings for, Frankenstein the monster. I'm not sure that's what I got out of it, but overall, I will say this on a side note. I think the one that played Frankenstein did a very good job at playing this role. Oscar Isaac, I think he did a good job with portraying the deranged and the fascination and the crazy scientist type deal for Victor Frankenstein, of what the book was of Victor Frankenstein, what the legend was. And again, this is only the third thing I've seen him in between Star Wars and Moon Knight, and now this. So again, I give him credit where credit is due, and I would say if you're a fan of the Frankenstein legend, if you're a fan of the book, if you're a fan of any of the movies you've seen of Frankenstein, then more than likely you're going to enjoy this movie, and you're going to enjoy seeing how the story progressed and how this new take, well, not new take, but this take of Frankenstein is told within this story. And overall, I think the acting was good in this, the portrayal of the time period was good in this. It was very bright, it was very vibrant, but it was also very dark. It was very decaying at times. Like I said, very Bram Stoker Dracula, that I would say was very inspired in this. I did read there was times I think a lot of people were surprised Johnny Depp did not get this role for playing Victor Frankenstein, which I would have been ecstatic for, in all honesty, to see him play this role. But again, it is what it is. Will I say the movie's the best ever? No. Is it a good movie? Yes. But overall, I think at the same time, if you're a fan of the Frankenstein legend, the Frankenstein monster that we've seen so many portrayals of throughout movies and television for however many years now at this point, I will definitely say give this movie a shot. And overall, let me know what you guys think. If you have seen it, what'd you think? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it okay? Was it crazy? Was it just stupid? Was it hard to figure out? What was overall your opinion? Let me know about it down in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you as always on the next one.